Welcome. Today in this lesson, we are going to discuss the different types of essays. But before we begin, we must know what an essay is and why we need to write an essay. Why do we do it? So the word essay comes from the Latin word exegere, or in French, you can pronounce it as exeger. All right. So and this verb, this Latin verb, it means to examine, to test, or to drive out. So it actually literally means to examine what a person thinks about a certain idea, to test and to drive out his or her opinions about that topic or that subject or the idea. So that's where the word essay is derived from. That's where it gets its meaning from. All right. So then we're going to go to the reason why we need to write essays and how does it benefit us at all. So I've jotted down a few reasons why we need to write essays, and I really believe that these are the most important ones. Number one, when you write an essay, you definitely read. You try to understand texts that support your idea. So you actually read the text very closely, trying to analyze the text. You understand how to analyze the text, how to compare and contrast different texts, right? And you use the language of persuasion to persuade your reader to believe in your idea, to be convinced of what you're writing, or even if you're describing something, to help your reader, persuade your reader to think about what you're writing. Conciseness, which means that when you write an essay, you cannot write unless it's an academic essay, you cannot write 3,000 or 4,000 words. All right, so you have to be concise, you have to be precise, you have to choose your language carefully, and you have to be clear. You learn how to be clear, you learn how to bring clarity into your writing so that you don't confuse your reader. You learn how to organize your ideas in a way that brings clarity, in a way that makes your idea clear to the reader. And of course, exposition. Exposition just means where you give explanations. You learn how to explain your ideas in a fluent way, in an organized way, in a structured way. All right. So these are basically the benefits of writing an essay, and that's why we need to learn how to write essays. All right, because it's all about giving your opinions, all about telling people what you think. So essays, this is the medium to express what you feel and to share your opinions. So um, we are going to we're going to learn about different types of essays, but I'm not going to do all in this video. So I'll just run you through the different types of essays. So we have descriptive essays, definition essays, descriptive essays, of course, where you describe things, definition essays, where you define something abstractly. What is love? What's honesty? What's cause and effect? Like climate change is the topic, right? What's the cause of climate change? How does it affect the world? How does it affect the environment? Compare and contrast essays. What's the difference between hatred and love? How do we compare and contrast these two emotions? You also have narrative essays where you could narrate an incident or a personal a personal thing, something personal, and personal experience, all right, or a story. It's more conversational narrative. Argumentative essays, where you just stand for something and you're for something. Smoking should be banned, so you're for the banning of smoking or cigarettes. Critical essays are essays that really look at a text. Shakespeare's play, for example, The Merchant of Venice or The Tempest, looks at the play critically and appreciates the text, or probably comments where probably Shakespeare has fallen short of your expectations, or praise for Shakespeare the way he has described somebody in a play, things like that. A process essay describes the process. For example, how is chocolate made? How do you make tea? Or what does a successful job interview look like? So the entire process. Today we're going to do just descriptive essays. So very quickly, descriptive essays, they could describe an object, all right? For example, describe uh, describe your teddy bear, or describe your favorite toy, for example. Describe a person, describe your father or mother or best friend, describe a place, describe an experience that you've had, describe an emotion, or describe a certain situation. So all these examples, all these things, I mean, they form perfect examples of descriptive essays. Now remember, a descriptive essay needs a lot of sensory details. You have to think. If you're describing, say, an object, you're describing, say, your favorite food, you need to think, what does it look like? What does it feel when you just chomp it down? How does it taste, of course? How does it smell? And what does it sound like? Probably the crackling of sesame seeds in the pan, things like that. So a descriptive essay, remember, is filled with lots of sensory details. Now, how to write the essay. Number one, plan. Okay, you cannot write an essay without planning it first. So you've selected a topic, you plan. Okay, I'm going to have these three parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Now remember, the introduction and conclusion comprise one paragraph each, and the body of your essay, 3 paragraphs at least. So you have 5 paragraphs in total. Remember, the high 5 paragraphs. This is the layout that we want to see in your essay. So 5 paragraphs, all right? Neat paragraphs. But first, plan, okay? You're writing about, say, your favorite person. So plan. Who are you going to talk about? Brainstorm ideas. What do you know about him? What do you know about his life? What do you know about his plans, things like that. So brainstorm. Then think of the language that you are going to use. Remember, number one rule is keep it simple. But where you can add colorful language, make it more clear, make it more vivid, make it more enjoyable. But the rule is to keep it simple. You don't need to use any fashionable language. All right, but it does make an impression on the reader. But where you can't, just keep it simple. So once you've planned, brainstormed, and you know what kind of language you're going to use, write down the words that you want to use in your essay. All right. Remember, the descriptive essay is about the senses, how a thing or a person looks, sounds like. All right, the 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and of course, what was it? Taste, touch, and yes, of course, how it sounds. All right, and then once you've done all that, you organize all the ideas that you've brainstormed. You think, okay, I'm going to put this into the introduction. I know how to make the, think about the hook, the introduction, the most interesting part, the hook, the background information, and the thesis statement. That's the introduction. Then the body. What are you going to write in paragraph 2 and 3 and 4? Organize your ideas. And finally, the conclusion. How are you going to write the conclusion? What ideas are you going to use in the conclusion? So organize. Remember the high 5. Remember this little hand that I've made here. The high 5. You want to see those 5 paragraphs. Introduction, body 3 paragraphs, and conclusion. High 5. And finally, once you've written the essay, review it, check for mistakes, read it to yourself. Are you convinced about your idea? Do you think your reader will like the essay? Or do you think you need to make it a bit more colorful, persuasive? Think. If you can persuade your reader to like the person you have described, or to go right then to buy your favorite food, if you've convinced your reader, you've written a good essay, a good descriptive essay. All the best.